What's good? We're back with another video. Today, I want to know how the richest people in America think of socialism. What they think of socialism versus capitalism. I want to know what the richest people in America think. And Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. I don't know about Charlie Munger, but I know Bill Gates and Warren Buffett definitely are the ones that like say a lot of socialist policies that should be added. I don't know. Well, let me back up on Bill Gates too. I don't know Bill Gates' stance on everything. I know he leans more democratic. So yeah, maybe he does lean towards more socialist policies. I don't know. We're about to figure it out though, y'all. But y'all subscribe. You know what to do. Remember what I said. Subscribe if you like me. If you don't like me, don't subscribe. I don't want you on my page if you don't like me. I want you to like me. If you don't like me, it's for the birds. All right. Well, let's get right to the reaction. I don't want to waste no time. Let's go.
Gentlemen, we've talked an awful lot on our air recently about socialism versus capitalism, defending capitalism, all of the different political pressures that are kind of being brought as we get into another election year. And I thought maybe we could talk about that this morning too. Over the weekend, several questions came up about defending capitalism. And Warren, you did step out and say that you're a card-carrying member, a card-carrying capitalist in front of everyone. What do you think about the attacks that we've seen to this point on capitalism?
Well, I don't think people exactly even know what they're talking about. It isn't the capitalism. It's perfect, but if you look at what was here in 1776 and look at what is here now, this country has done an incredible job in terms of the deployment of resources and human ingenuity. And that is a product of the system. Now, does that mean that every decision should be made simply by open market determinants? There's a need for regulation, obviously, and there are things that have long-term costs and might not get built in. But the idea of people unleashing their potential, using the resources they have to create what we have now from what was here 240-some years ago, it's absolutely a miracle, and what all three of us have seen during our lifetime. And if you compare that with any centralized planned economy, I think we win hands down, and I think we've just started with what capitalism can produce in the United States. But I do think it obviously it needs certain rules and regulations.
Well, you didn't.
So he didn't disagree with anything that a socialist would say. A socialist would say that regulation is needed. Regulation is needed. Some socialists believe like in completely having a government presence. Some of them do. I mean, socialism is right before communism, though. People have to remember, communism is complete government presence over the market. Socialism is a little bit of government presence over the market, but more protection on the workers. So what he just said was perfect. I mean, capitalism, it has its flaws. It definitely needs regulation in order to prevent monopolies, things like that, crony capitalism, people stealing other people's ideas, all kind of stuff like that. But overall, it's not a bad system. It's not a bad system when it comes to growing things economically. But let's keep going. This is good.
Interview in Davos with someone, and you made a pretty innocuous statement that you looked around, you thought capitalism was the best system, and you got attacked online from all these people who came up with these crazy statements about how could you say things like that. I mean, what do you think about the climate when you see things like that?
Those of you that live in Cincinnati, don't skip this YouTube ad for at least 30 seconds.
Well, some people think when you defend capitalism, you're defending the tax rates we have today and saying that higher absolute tax rates or more progressive tax rates, that you're disagreeing with them. And I don't think Warren and I are disagreeing that you could make the taxes more progressive. In fact, we've been very explicit in some areas, like the estate tax, and saying we think that would be a good thing. Socialism...
You got your wish, it came back.
Socialism used to mean that the state controlled the means of production. And a lot of people who are promoting socialism actually aren't using that classic definition. So what we're going to have is capitalism with some level of taxation most people really aren't arguing against capitalism. There may be a few, but most people are just saying that the taxes should change.
Although you do have someone who I think is polling the second highest in the Democratic Party right now, who was a socialist until very recently, Bernie Sanders.
Well, whether or not he was a socialist by the full term of that, now there is some muddy areas when you start to say...
He understood that. Bernie Sanders wasn't fully a socialist. That's why he said he was a democratic socialist. This is the thing that people don't understand. Democratic socialist is a lot different than the full term of socialism. The full term of socialist. It's a lot different. I need people to do research on that. Definitely.
There shouldn't be any billionaires, that you have some cap on wealth or something like that. That goes beyond what I think, and you could say I'm self-interested, but...
Really? we will accept the present ones. No, but government needs to reallocate some resources. I mean, the extreme case would be in World War II. I mean, that's the closest we've come to socialism. You had an Office of Price Administration. You had a war production board. Yeah, I mean, but during peacetime, you're always prepared for war, and you do that through government. Government needs to reallocate some resources, but the market system, which exists under capitalism, is an extraordinarily effective way, and has proven it, of using resources, human and other kinds, to produce incredible goods. And Henry Ford could devise a system that could turn out a couple million cars a year, but he could only use half a dozen himself, or his whole family could use 50. I mean, he had to turn out a couple million cars that other people got to use, and that would not have, in my view, I think if you'd set up a government bureau in 1850 and given them 100 years to develop a car, I'm not so sure you'd have ever come up with anything like the assembly lines of Ford and all of the things that have happened. Human ingenuity is incredible, and you want something that maximizes its use and then curbs a few of the ideas that some of those people may have to sort of have evolved for themselves.
Charlie,
But is the use being maximized today? I guess that's the question, and maybe they may answer this question. Henry Ford, interesting. I won't make a comment about him. This is they're capitalists saying this. Like, they're not far too right, far too left. They're kind of smack dab in the middle of how economics should really work, and I think that's really what it should be. I do think there should be regulations on businesses to protect people, to protect the environment. There needs to be reallocated, stuff needs to be reallocated in order to help people who in society can't help themselves. You know, the poor, the disabled, elderly people, sometimes veterans who come home with PTSD problems, minority groups that have been subjugated to things that have been happening for centuries to them, white people who are born in like Appalachian areas, you know, like where there's no access to any resources around them. We need to allocate some of this wealth towards some of these places to actually help out. I definitely do, and he didn't seem to have a problem with that. Neither do Gates. I don't know how Munger seems. So I'm loving this conversation. This is a really good conversation. Let's keep going.
The great proof of how capitalism works is China.
God, their voices make me scared as fuck to get old, man. Oh God, man, their voices, but it's like they smoke a lot. But I don't know if I don't know if they smoke, but it sounds like it's just scratchy. Like, what the heck?
And China copied Singapore and let the farmers own their own plots and let the manufacturers own their own businesses and so forth. China's productivity increased many times, and they went from rural poverty to modern extreme wealth, and they did it by adopting a fair amount of capitalism. Yeah. Now, if a Democratic politician doesn't understand that, he's nuts.
Warning, if you've been injured in a recent car accident, do not accept settlement before using this 30-second.
You've made the same point, though, Charlie, that you think private sector does it much better than the government sector. However, a lot of these people who are running also want to make government much bigger. Do you have a quarrel with that or no?
Well, as they say, if you love your post office, you're going to love socialized medicine.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily want to make it bigger in terms of redistributing. They may want to. The market system is brutal, and it leaves behind people who are perfectly wonderful people who don't have market-related talents, and
Or who are just unlucky.
yeah, just plain unlucky. And in a rich society, believe me, if we have a war or something like that, we call on those people and pay them practically nothing to go fight for us. We want goods flowing, but it's going to displace the textile worker that we used to have and so on. So the function of government is not necessarily to get bigger. It may be in an important way to take care of people who, for one reason or another, get left behind in a market system that you also regard as essentially this huge source of wealth and goods and services.
So how do you fix the problems, or at least the perception of problems, which there's a huge perception out there in the American voting right now?
Obviously, it would help if our
That's the big question, right? How do we fix the problem? Let's see what their answer is. That is the big question. Let's see if the capitalists have the answer. Who knows? Let's see what they think.
government were wiser. And it would be wiser if the two sides didn't hate each other so much. Anger drives out reason. And there is absolute cold fury between politicians on one side and politicians on the other. It's quite counterproductive. For that reason, I don't allow myself to get angry at politicians.
How would you fix it?
Well, I just don't let myself get that angry at politicians. I don't expect them to be
Berkshires work better because Charlie and I've never been mad at each other.
Yeah.
It just does. I mean, way better. If we got mad at each other, I'd try and kill his deals, he'd try to kill my deals. It just doesn't work that way.
We don't need a couple of alpha males blustering one another over this stuff. They ought to just cool it and take a little reputational hit and get the feathers
But we ought to
down.
We ought to worry about the people that don't fit into the system. We want the system, and a lot of people are getting left further and further behind because as capitalism gets more advanced, it gets more specialized, and there actually is greater difference between the haves and the have-nots, and the haves can take care of the have-nots. And interesting is both parties basically agree on that. They just
Yes, how you get there, that gets complicated.
Income tax credit can make a huge jump in that direction. I mean, Social Security, we've done various things. Over the years, we have improved. We've improved the public school systems. We've improved the things that do give people more of an equal chance and take care of people who fall by the wayside. We just got to keep doing it.
Hey man, I didn't disagree with anything any of them said. They're all capitalist. They came up with solutions, the income tax credit, Social Security, things like that. The have should take care of the have-nots. That's what Warren Buffett said. I think that if you benefited off this great country and you became a billionaire, I think there should be you don't have to, but I think you should give back if you're truly patriotic. I think you should, but I mean, the question of patriotism sometimes doesn't come in when it comes to money. People are like, I should be able to keep my money and do what I want with my money, which is fair. I understand that. Like if you rose to a successful position in life, like the wealth doesn't have to be spread if you don't want it to be spread. It shouldn't be forcefully spread, but I do think that there's such to be some obligation that you have to help other people in this country rise to the position you did. But hey, that's my opinion. You can comment in the comment section what you think. All right, peace.